Money. Hello, everybody. I want to go live and talk about this topic because this is a very powerful topic and has stopped so many people from achieving their dreams. And I definitely don't want it to stop your dreams. So, in this short session that I have with you guys today, I want to talk about this in the sense that what is it that the rich people do, or the way how rich people are educated completely different than most of us to be able to actually make money even if they don't put their own resources in. Also, I want to share some really key principles that changes your money blueprint or your wealth blueprint, that if you implement them today, they can completely change the course of your life. And number three, some practical examples that you can do and implement today that allow you to actually get started and be able to make more money. So I'm really, really excited for this today, but I just want to make sure that everything is coming through correctly. So I'm just going to check if the sound is all right. So bear with me just one moment. Here we go. For this today, but I just yes. All right, cool. So this is working. Who very, very excited. By the way, if you are watching this either live or on the replay, please do let me know. Please comment below where you're tuning in from, what it is that you want to achieve. And I am really, really excited. Also, if you have any questions, please comment those below as well, as I am very keen on answering those too. So, really, really, really excited for today's session. So, I want to start at the beginning. So, I want to sketch a couple of scenarios, certain things that perhaps you could be facing today. And this is actually applicable, like what this title says or what this video is going to explain is going to be applicable to anyone. Doesn't matter what your situation is. And that is what I want to start off by making very clear. So if you are in a situation that you are not in business, you perhaps have a job or you have another way of how income is coming in for you, but you would just really like to make more money and you feel like you don't have the resources, the money to be able to actually make that happen. So you feel like money is stopping you from making money. Or other scenario that perhaps you already have your business, but things are moving very, very slowly. Hardly ever do you get a client. And once you do, it seems like they never have enough money, which leads to you not having enough money and feeling like you're not able to pass beyond a certain threshold or like an invisible ceiling, and you're not getting beyond that. And you feel like you don't have enough money to be able to make anything happen. Maybe in either of those scenarios, you are looking to find ways, learn different things because you see all these other people around you thriving, doing incredible things, and you also want to learn that. Perhaps you want to find a mentor, perhaps you want to find a program, mastermind, something that can help you, but that too requires money and investment. So whatever the case is, you feel like your head like basically being stuffed from all directions and you don't know what to do, and you're like, how do I make it happen? How can I actually make more money even though at this very moment you don't have the money? Now, if that is you, either of those scenarios, then this is absolutely the video for you, because I absolutely have been in many scenarios, whether it was before I went into business or when I was in business, where money was a bit of a struggle and I didn't have enough. The worst scenario was actually after I already was in business for some time and I had to start all over. And in that stage, it was really, really quite hard. A lot of things that I had to do again, even to the point where I couldn't pay for my own rent and I couldn't pay for my food. That being said, though, in those stages, I really felt that I had so much purpose. And I really felt that my business was going to come off the ground and it was going to work and I was going to be able to do the things that I wanted to do. And maybe you can relate to this. Maybe you too, at this very moment, no matter which situation you are in at the present time, you also feel like you're destined for so much more. You know your life should be better. You know your bank account should reflect a better number than it is currently. You know you're capable of it. You know you have the qualities and the potential, but for whatever reason, you don't know where to divert that energy to be able to make it happen. You're willing to go, you're willing to take action, but you just wonder, like, how do I do it? Now, that was what I was feeling too, and I was a little bit stuck. But luckily, in my situation, and I'm going to share this as well with you guys in the practical points that I'm going to give you guys at the end of this video, is that I was able to lean on my family, and they were able to help me, and they were able to also support me in my dream, our dream, to be able to make this happen. And so the reason why I really, really, really want to talk about this is because it really means something to me. And I think that's important to share too before we dive in, is that almost 8 years ago, I was not in business and I was doing a PhD in astrophysics. For those of you who follow the channel for a long time, you probably know about this. But for those of you who are new, hi there. Super nice to have you on here. If you're not following yet, by all means, follow whichever platform you're watching. We have Facebook, we have Twitter, we have Instagram, we have YouTube. So I'm really excited to be here on all these platforms. But what I'm basically wanting to say is that when I got started with business and I really felt, I have so much more to give and I want to live a different life. I don't want to become a professor, as was the usual, next step when you do your academic career. I really felt that, okay, I had to do something, but I didn't know how. I didn't know where to focus that energy on. I just knew I was destined for more. And by the way, if you feel like that too, if you feel like you have so much more to offer and you know that life has so much more in store for you as well, comment it below. Really, really appreciate people sharing, because I want to help you solve that problem. And so when I felt that, and I was just like searching, I was looking videos on YouTube and I was thinking about, how do I find myself a mentor? Because that was the thing that pretty much every successful person was saying. Like, if you want to do business and you want to do it well and you want to grow your wealth, which could perhaps be one of your goals as well, you better learn from someone who's already achieved those results and someone who's been able to do that and learn from their mistakes and follow in their footsteps and just speed the whole process up for you rather than go trial and error all the time. So I really knew that I wanted to find a mentor, but I had to find the right mentor for me. Now, lo and behold, I found my mentor at the time. That was the incredible Master Shri Akashna. And I had an opportunity to learn from him and work with him, but that had a fee and it had a price tag, and it was $7,000. And that was a lot. That was like a couple of months of salary. So I was just like, I really, really, really want to learn this. I really want to do this, but how do I actually go and make it happen? Because I don't have the funds. That's the reason why I want to learn. So you feel like you're in some sort of vicious cycle. You're like, how do I break free from that? Now, what I want to add to it before I'm going to share what I did and some of the things that our top students have done to be able to make it through and actually, grow their lives and businesses in the most beautiful way, which I'm so proud. So a big shout out to everyone from FLC, Freedom Lifestyle Creators. But one thing that I really want to make clear, and that's why I'm so determined to help as many people as we possibly can with FLC, is that we've seen too many people struggle. Too many people are struggling right now, are not able to make ends meet, are suffering from all the crises that are going on in the world, not even to mention like the emotional suffering or the difficulties that people are going through in their lives, but hereby specifically referring to financially. Most people are not able to get by. Most people find it very, very difficult to make ends meet, even though they're working really hard. They're going through their jobs, they're dedicated, they do whatever they can, but they're just burning out without getting the appreciation sometimes, which can be really toxic. We had a couple of talks about that on the channel as well, or just not seeing another way of being able to do it. Because the problem is that we live in a society where there are so many things that we have to consider, so many things that are keeping us tight, that even though you know you want to do something different, you know you're not perhaps at the right place in your job, which 85% of the world is not happy in their jobs, you don't feel like you can make a change, because if you make a change, then you might miss out on some more money. And then not only are you missing out on having lack of money at the moment, but you're having more lack. And then, you have your responsibilities. You need to take care of the kids. You need to take care of the rent and all these other things. And then also a lot of students or people that were students have study loans that you also have to cover. So there are so many different things going on in this society worldwide that people are left uncertain and unhappy, definitely not abundant, but also without any clue of how to change the situation. And we've been able to meet and speak to and help so many people that it just really breaks my heart if anyone is in a situation like that, because you don't have to be. You absolutely don't have to be. And that's why we love sharing our education with people, because we have helped so many people completely transform their lives, being able to make money and being able to do something that they love, which is what we call a freedom lifestyle. So I just wanted you to know, before we dive into the actual points of today, that the reason why we're doing this and we're spending so much time on these topics to help people break free is because I personally believe that everyone should be free. Everyone, every single person in this world should be not just physically free, which unfortunately is not a solved problem in this world either, but also like having the freedom to do what you want to do, to look after yourself, look after your family, and not being tied down and just get by, because you're meant to be living, you're meant to be enjoying life, and especially with your loved ones. So let me know in the comments if you guys can resonate with this, if you too feel that everyone should be free, and if you too want to contribute, first to make your life better, and second to help others out there too. So without any further ado, let's dive in. And I'm going to be making this training, if I want or if I can, as interactive as possible. I know, again, people are tuning in from all different platforms, and I want to also pay homage to all the people who are commenting. So thank you guys so much on the different platforms. I can see everything coming in. So I want to say, hey, Daily, Atomy, sorry. So lovely to see you again. It's been a little while. Asia is saying, hi, Tjibaria. It would be great to work in your team if you are looking for people. Oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And yes, we're actually going to open up applications for hiring a lot of people in the new year. So keep your eyes peeled. You might be able to see some of that as well. But by all means, send our team some information if you're keen on something like that. We're always, very excited to work with new talent. So the email address is team@tjibaria.com, which is my name. So team@tjibaria.com. And we have Josie in the house, as always. Hello, Josie. All right, let's dive in. So the first thing that I want everybody to really take a close look at is a couple of quotes that I want to share with you. And it's actually two. And these are the two quotes that actually I learned from Master Sri Krishna when I started. And it was that very first day that I met him. I was at a conference and I was thinking, like, I want to find myself a mentor. And lo and behold, I saw him on a stage in Amsterdam. And I was just like, man, this guy's awesome. I want him to mentor me. So as he was on stage and as I was sitting in the front row making notes like a nerdy, he said these two things. And I want you to really write this down. And you may have heard me or someone else say this before, but please do write it down. Because if you really get it to the level that you're meant to get it, then you will no longer be tied down by money. So write this down. The first thing is, it's never ever the lack of resources, it's only ever the lack of resourcefulness. So let me say that again. It's never ever the lack of resources. It's only ever the lack of resourcefulness. So resources could be all sorts of things. It could be money. It could be time. It could be other things. But specifically today, we're talking about money. So it's never ever the lack of money. It's only ever the lack of resourcefulness. Resourcefulness meaning that you can start thinking of how can I find ways to solve this problem? How can I find the money? And that's actually also a beautiful topic that I think is a couple of years back now. Brendon Burchard made a very powerful video about. Brendon Burchard is one of the amazing entrepreneurs that I love to follow the work of. He's really, really inspirational. And he said something like this. He says there's a difference between successful people and not yet successful people. And the main difference between the two is that successful people don't let things stop them. Where not yet successful people say, I can't, the successful people say, how can I? And the people that are not successful yet say, I have no ways of making that happen. The successful people say, how do I make it happen? How can I make it happen? So that's exactly that difference that is called resourcefulness. Resourcefulness also means that you take it upon yourself to actually make it happen and be creative, be open-minded, and see, rather than all the ways that is making it difficult, all the ways that could actually make it happen for you. And that is the very, very big difference. And this is also why at any conference that we speak at, we always say success is a choice or success is a decision. If you want to be financially free, you want to be abundant, you want to live a freedom lifestyle, the choice is yours. The question is what you're going to do with that. Are you going to listen to this and say, yeah, yeah, you always say that and it's easy for you to speak and blah, 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 blah? Or are you today going to make that change and say, yes, I'm going to take it upon myself and I'm going to make it happen? And it doesn't matter if before you've tried other things and they didn't work out yet. Keyword is yet. You're going to make it happen as long as you put your mind to it and as long as you don't let anything distract you. And doesn't mean that you shouldn't pay close attention to the things that are important in your life, obviously, but don't let any opinions, including your own opinion about yourself and your capabilities, stop you from achieving something that is dear to your heart. So that's very important. So how can we be resourceful? We're going to talk a lot about that. And specifically in this special session that I wanted to do today, also for all of our boot campers. So big shout out to all the boot campers. If you guys are on here, please do let me know if you're coming to the boot camp. Really quite excited for you guys to be there. But what I want to specifically speak about is the fact that there are so many things that the rich learn from a young age that most of us don't even hear in our entire lives. And that's another very powerful thing. So we'll get into that in just a moment. So be resourceful. I want you guys to comment below and say, I am resourceful. Because if you claim that and if you take that responsibility already by just typing it out, you're going to see a shift in your mind and in the possibilities for you. So that's the first thing. Now, the second thing is a sentence that is very similar. It's almost the same as such. And it says, it's never ever the lack of resources. It's only ever the lack of desire. So let me say that once more. It's never ever the lack of resources. It's only ever the lack of desire. So what does that mean? It's the same thing, right? Resources, money, time, or anything else that you could be using to be able to achieve certain things. So it's never ever the lack of money. It's only ever the lack of desire. Now, why is desire so important? Why it is so important? And thank you so much, Okiki Ola, for commenting. Hoo ha hoo. Yes, you are resourceful. Why is desire so important? It's actually directly connected to what I said before. Success is a choice. Success is a decision. If you really want to make something happen, you will make it happen. That's also where, I don't know if you guys have ever heard of it, but there's this thing called, I believe, super strength or super something. But I don't know if you've ever heard of those stories where a mom or a dad had to save their child and they lifted up a truck, which is humanly almost impossible, or it is for most people impossible. But in this moment of desperation where you see a loved one in a dangerous situation and you want to save them, you tap into that super strength and you just make it happen. That's desire in action, your desire to save the life of someone that you love. Now, I'm not talking about those extremes in this very example, like it's never the lack of resources, only the lack of desire, but it does show you that if you want something good enough, you can make it happen. So have that desire. But what's the problem is that in this society as well, that I just spoke about and all the different problems that it brings, there's also a lot of things that dumb down our desire. And it makes us almost feel guilty to want more. And I don't know if you've ever had it where you felt like, oh, I want to do something special, which, by the way, entrepreneurship is special. If you want to run your own business, it's only the minority of this world that run it and run it successful. So if you want to do that and you are like, man, I want to do something that I can be my own boss and I can help people and I can make a lot more money and I can determine my own hours and I can be more at home with my loved ones and whatever you want to do, maybe travel more. A lot of our students want that. Then that is special. And sometimes people almost feel guilty to want that because they feel, and other people say to them, oh, no, you should just be happy with what you have. Now, let me make it very clear. Wanting more does not mean that you're not happy with what you have. Those two things can live in the same place. As a matter of fact, it is actually very normal as a human or creation build up or makeup that we want to more. We want to do more. We want to create more. It's even like that as well in the animal kingdom. So it's not something weird to want to produce and want to allow more abundance to come. There's actually a very beautiful saying by Chief Tecumseh, one of the chiefs of a Native American tribe, that says, beautify your life in all aspects of your life. And then he also adds to that so that you can do that to be of service to those that you care for. Not exactly in those words, but that's kind of the point of it. So wanting more, whether that is more abundance money wise, more abundance health wise, more quality time with loved ones, more ability to add value to the world, see more of the world. There's nothing wrong with that. So I wanted to highlight that because I know that a lot of people that we speak to, whenever we're running events or when we ever speak to our clients just before they got started or anyone else on social media, that's a big thing too. Because if you think about it, if I was to say to you guys that success is a choice, then why haven't you chosen yet? What is possibly going on in our heads that prevents us from doing that? Now, these could be one of those things that you almost feel guilty for wanting that, or that you don't allow yourself to actually realize that you deserve it as well. And one of my students once said something really beautiful. It's like we have to give ourselves permission to want to go after our dreams. We have to give ourselves that belief that we can do it and we want to do it. So that's a very important thing too. But if you really come down to it, what does desire really mean, in my opinion at least, is if you think about your why. Why would you love to live a freedom lifestyle? Why would you want to make more money? Why would you want to live a better life? Most of the time, and this is another study that was done by Brandon Burchard, if you look at the lives of the high achievers, the best achievers, people that consistently get success after success after success, most of these people have a why that is not necessarily themselves, but is someone else. Whether it's their family, whether it's their loved ones, whether it's their community, they somehow have such a strong desire to do something for those people that they care for, that puts them on the other side of the challenge. It doesn't let anything stop them. They just go, and if they face challenges, they find a way. They're resourceful to be able to overcome them. And that's a powerful thing. Now, that being said, does not mean that you cannot just do it for yourself. It's actually very important that you value yourself and that you know that you deserve everything in the world as much as another person would. But you want to actually start thinking about, what is that for you? Why would you want to live a freedom lifestyle? And I actually want to ask you guys, feel free to comment it below. What is your reason for wanting to make more money? What is your reason? Maybe you want to live more comfortable. Maybe you want to actually have the means so that you can put your children through the best schools, or maybe you want to just be able to have a bit of peace of mind knowing that you can automate parts of the business, which is what we teach to our students. So there's a lot of different reasons why you could want to do that. But if you get clear on that and you really allow that desire to be so strong, it can actually allow you to overcome everything. And that's why it's never the lack of money or a lack of resources. It's only ever the lack of desire. And for me, just to share it with you guys, for me, my why is my family, number one. And number two, helping people. Exactly the reason why I'm doing this live right now. I want people to realize that you can live in freedom. And I'm not just talking about physical freedom, because yes, most people, but not everyone, unfortunately, but most people have physical freedom, but we're not mentally free. Bob Marley talks about it as well, mental slavery. Somehow we're confining ourselves to some invisible chain that keeps us settling for a life that we know we can actually do better in. And again, I'm not saying to you to be ungrateful. Be grateful for everything that you have in your life. But it doesn't mean that you should go through with certain things in your life that you know you deserve better. For instance, being in a job that underpays you, doesn't appreciate you, and makes you feel very, very, very unhappy. That's not good. That's not going to be good for your health. It's going to lead to stress. It's going to, so many things come from that. Then another thing is if you're in a business right now, but it's not actually helping you forward, and you know you could do more, you know you have a phenomenal product, but you're not able to get in front of the right people, you're not able to go and do those things that gives you the visibility, doesn't perhaps have the skills to be able to do the marketing or to do the sales. Now, these are all things that you can work on, and I will help you work on. But what I want to share with you mostly is that for us, that is that desire that we want to help people. And this is also why, in all the challenges that I have faced or we have faced as a company, it was very clear that those challenges were only temporary because we knew what we were doing it for. And so you can know what you are doing it for. So get clear for yourself. What is your why? Because there's another very powerful story that Master Sri Krishna always, or at least he used to always tell it from stage, which is that example with the time bomb strapped to you. So imagine this, right? Imagine if you had a time bomb strapped to you and the villain says, hey, if you want this time bomb to be dismantled, you have 1 week to find 10,000 and pay me that 10,000. And if not, the time bomb goes boom. Now, if that was the situation, what would you do? Would you be like, oh, I don't have the money. I don't know what to do. Oh, and you would procrastinate. You would watch some Netflix. You would play games. You would do other stuff that is not getting you to that goal. Or would you have such desire to go and find a way? You would go to the bank. You would go speak to people. You would go work extra hours, whatever you can do to make it happen. Obviously, the latter. You would do whatever good it takes to stay alive because the desire is big. Might be difficult, but you'll do it anyways. You'll find a way. So why not now? If in such a difficult situation you would find the courage to go and create the possibilities for yourself, and you have the desire, why not now? The answer is, if you can do it then, you should do it now. Because at the end of the day, there was another study that was done across elderly people that were just about to go on the last few pages of their life. And when they were asked what did they regret, it was not what they did do, but it was what they didn't do. And I want that to sink in. Why? Because there's so many of us that say, I'll do it later. You justify the thought, oh, it's not the right time right now. I'll do it later. Maybe my chance comes in another point. Well, my question for you is, has that chance come already? Has later come already? Or is it just the same old story? And I don't mean to be rude or to be saying something that might hurt people, but I do want this to be a wake-up call. Not just for the sake of you then looking on your life and thinking like, oh man, I've messed up. No, you've never messed up. It's never too late. It's never too late. We can always make things happen. It's always like right now we have the time to do whatever we want. We take everything else from our life as a learning and we go move forward. It's never ever too late. But the question is, now that you realize it, what you're going to do now in this moment? Or in other words, and I want you guys to write this down, when would now be a good time? Rather than pushing it forward and say, I'll do it later, I'll do it later, I'll do it later, when would now be a good time? And that's directly correlated to desire. And that's why this is so important. Does this make sense? Let me know in the comments if this makes sense. And hey, thank you so much, Matthew. Hello, Dad. Love you. Mwah. See you soon. And big shout out to my dad, who has always helped me, even in times when I did not have the resources. So I want to dive into the next topic, which is our wealth blueprint, because this is very, very important. I want to share or give you insight into some of the things that the richest of the richest learn, but most of us never get access to. So what are those things? I'm not trying to be like, oh, some esoteric information, not at all. But it's just like sometimes when you move in certain circles, and let's say for us, we've closed a lot of deals, we have made millions, and we are now working with other people that have made millions or billions, you overhear certain conversations and you see that there's actually some trends or some habits or some things that those people do. And those people teach their children. And this is a thing that is very important and close to my heart also, because one of the things that children of rich people get educated on in a very early age is the power and understanding of OPM. And I want you guys to write this down. OPM. What does it mean? It means other people's money. And one of the very, very stunning things as well is this thing. And I want to ask you a question to make the point. Have you ever had it in your life that you wanted to do something, but money prevented you from doing it? Whether that was you wanting to buy your dream car, whether that was you investing in yourself, whether it was making a trip, whether it was giving a gift to someone that you love, anything at all, maybe going for an education, anything. Have you ever wanted to do something and money stopped you from doing it? If that is you, well, that's me too. Absolutely. And I can probably say all of us have sometimes wanted to do something, but money didn't allow us to. Hey, Justine, thank you so much for tuning in. So here's the funny part. Rich people do have the money, but they still don't use their own money. Rich people have the money, but they still don't use their own money. Now, you might be thinking, well, they do use their own money to a certain extent, yes, but not when it comes to investing. And this is specifically the topic that we're talking about here, because we're talking about if you want to make more money. I'm not talking about, hey, you don't have enough money to buy a Prada bag, what can you do? Because then that's not investing in yourself. That's buying something. That is basically spending your money on liabilities. But here's the thing, I'm talking about how can you make money. And most people let money stop them from making more money, but not you. So to give you an example, you guys probably know Richard Branson, right? The founder of Virgin Records, the founder of the Virgin Airlines, and all the other 400 Virgin companies. And so one of the things that he did, which is very powerful as a story as well, is that he had already built up Virgin Records to a multi-million-dollar company. And then he said, I want to start an airline. Now, question for you guys. Do you think that he used his own money to start that new airline? He was like, hey, Virgin Records is here. Let me take all of my millions and then invest in the next company. No, he didn't. Maybe he used a little bit. Maybe he used some of it to start certain things up. But the biggest amount of money, he used OPM. Again, what does that mean? Other people's money. What does that mean? He basically spoke to investors. He went to the bank. He went to his family members. He spoke to people that were near and dear to him and people that he didn't know. And he basically presented them with an opportunity that was going to make them rich and it's going to allow them to leave a legacy. And so what he did, he was very good in pitching that and getting people to see like, wow, this is an absolute powerful opportunity. So people put their money forward and he started that airline. And yes, of course, there were some challenges, there were some ups and downs, but at the end, it became very, very, very successful. And their investors made some of the money back. And I want to basically highlight that point because is there anyone here who has got the feeling like you don't want to ask someone else for money? Anybody at all? Let me know in the comments if that's you. Comment below and say I do. Right? You don't want to ask for mommy or I don't or whatever, something if you can relate to it. And that's a lot of us. That's another thing that is unjustifiedly or whatever ingrained in us that we shouldn't do that we should be proud and do it ourselves. Or maybe some of you have learned that in other ways. But the thing is, and I want you guys to know, is again, making the comparison with the desire. Because I still am quite proud, but I too used to be in such a mindset that was like, no, I don't want to have any handouts. I don't want to ask anybody else for their money. I'm going to do it on my own. And I was very proud of myself for doing that, But then at some point I realized when I had no choice, and that was the story that I started off with in February 6th, 2026, when I met Master Akashna in an event and he presented an opportunity to me to invest in myself, $7,000 it was, to go and get a business program so I can learn business and make more money. That was the moment that I was like, man, I really, really, really need to do this. Has anybody ever felt like that you have an opportunity and you're just like, man, everything in your heart and soul tells you that this is the thing for you? Because here's the thing, right? One thing I believe in is that when we learn from people, we don't just learn from anybody. Somehow there needs to be energetic alignment because learning is an energy exchange. I've worked with a couple of billionaires now, and not every billionaire is the type of person that I want to learn from. And I'm just seeing it as it is because I've worked with them and I've been able to observe some of their handlings. And even though they're phenomenal at what they do, some people just don't have the same energy as me. And that's totally cool. But that's then not beneficial for me if I was going to learn from them. And the other way around as well. If you do align with someone and you work with someone, then everything gets absorbed like you're a sponge and everything goes faster. And that is what I felt when I met Master Akashna. I was like, man, this is my mentor. But then I looked at my pocket, as every poor person would do. And I'm not trying to be disregarding or mean or anything like that, or call myself a poor person. But if you think about it, the wealthy, the rich people don't do this. So then the other opposite is the poor people, right? Most of us. I looked at my pockets and the money was not there. I looked at my bank account, the money was not there. And that was one of the first times when I realized it's like, man, I have to make it happen. The desire of what I wanted to do and what I wanted to create for those two goals that I had, my family, my loved ones, and the people that I wanted to serve, that was far bigger than my little pride and ego on the other side. So I stepped out of my comfort zone. And I actually also, for the first time in my life, were sorted towards OPM. Well, that's not entirely true. It's not the first time in my life. I did it under circumstances before that everyone's very common to. I took a study loan. So many of you may have had that before too. You want to go study, you want to go do certain things at the university or at college or whatever. There it is accepted. There everybody's like, yeah, man, you should do it. There are people that have thousands and thousands and thousands of study loans, but unfortunately their studies have not brought them in a position to be financially free. That's really disturbing. Just in the US alone, there's over $1 trillion in study loans, if not more. I don't know the last accurate numbers, but over $1 trillion. That's a lot. That's a lot of study loan, which is also one of the reasons why people feel that they should stay in their job, because they're paying off their loans. So that was another situation where I diverted to OPM, but that was acceptable. That was not out of my comfort zone. That was just normal. Everybody does it. But in this situation, where I wanted to invest in myself, learning business from someone who's made millions in business and does it with the heart, that was different. Different for me, different for anybody probably. So that was the first time that I was like, man, what do I do? But I want you to realize that difference again. Most people don't want to do it because it's weird and it's frowned upon in society. Whereas the rich people are like, I have the money. I'm not going to use my own money. I'm going to find other people and have that money work for us and then create the return. My puppy says, yes. Everybody, that's Goku. Hoo-ha-hoo. So that brings me to the next thing. If you really want to allow yourself to break free from what has held you back, which has made you felt for some time now that you don't have the money, you're never able to pass beyond it, is that you want to have an investor's mindset. Comment that below. Say, I have an investor's mindset. And if you have an investor's mindset, what is that really about? It's about that you see, I'm going to utilize my money or my resources or my time. You can also apply this to time. I'm going to invest my time. I'm going to invest my money. I'm going to invest my resources so that it may create more in the future. That's what the investor mindset is. It is thinking about an ROI. What does an ROI mean? It means a return on your investment. And that is why we have so many students that come onto our programs and they pay us thousands and call us cheap. Now, not everybody with the same words, but it does come down to it. We've got people come onto our programs and in a couple of weeks make hundreds of thousands and they pay us a couple of thousands. And then come with the funny face of like, I've already made my money back and then some, which obviously makes us happy because we want them to thrive. But that is the type of investment, a few thousands, that is frowned upon by society. It is frowned upon perhaps by you yourself, if you've never done it before. Or maybe you have done it before, but you haven't seen the results yet from whatever you invested in. And therefore you feel like, hey, I'm not so sure if I should do it again. Now I want to share this with you also. Just because you've done certain things in the past that didn't benefit you or haven't yet produced the results, remember the keyword, yet, doesn't mean that you should penalize yourself today for doing something or investing in something that you know is going to help you. That would be ridiculous. I've had that once where I almost held myself back. I made a big investment. It was around 25,000 in a $1 billion company to perfect one part of my business. And I was working with them for 5 months. So 25,000 out and 1K came back. So I was looking at my my return on investment and I was like, that's not really the right equation. Like 25 out, 1K back. Not really great, not really right. So it almost got me to be like very comfortable and very, very scared to take the next steps. But then it was actually my dad, that reminded me of one thing. He says, you always say to your students, invest in yourself, keep growing, keep going. Don't let things stop you. And I was like, yeah, I should. So the next thing, I invested double 50,000 with another billion-dollar company. And the funny thing was that in making that step, that investment, all the results that I was looking for came to fruition, even the results from the previous investment. And that's why I want you guys to know that just because you have done certain things in the past that didn't yet bring you the results doesn't mean that you should penalize yourself from doing something that will bring you the results. Because everything is like that stepping staircase. Every step that you take, every investment that you take, every failure that you have, which I personally don't believe in, but every learning that you have, it's a stepping stone to getting your success. It's part of the process. It's the puzzle pieces that are falling into place. And why am I saying this so passionately? Is because I know you have your goals, whatever that may be. Maybe you want to do stocks and shares. Then invest in a mentor that will help you get there faster. Don't hold back. Go for it. Make it happen. And I'm going to share some tips and tricks with you at the end of this session of what you can practically do to get there. But what I really want you guys to know is that there's never ever a thing that is a failure. And that's another very sad thing about society, because we are conditioned in school that failing is wrong. We're conditioned in school, if we don't pass our tests, we get an F or something else in that regime, that we have done wrong. We're not able to move on to the next level. People that are incredibly creative. I saw a TED talk about the other day. People that are incredibly creative, but perhaps do not fit within the school norms and are not able to study in the way that others are. They go through life thinking that they are not good enough, thinking that they are silly or whatever. And that's a darn shame, because they are brilliant in their own right. But what could it have done to you and me and anyone else like us is that we are then conditioned that we cannot want to fail. We don't want to do things wrong. We don't want to take a risk, even though that's necessary to make money. Even though that's necessary if you want to do something that will actually change your life. So what I'm saying is just because certain things have happened, don't look down on those things saying like, hey, I'm not sure if it will work for me. No, be proud of the things that you've done. Be proud of the step that you've taken. Take it on board in your backpack and say, hey, I'm moving forward and I'm taking all of this experience with me. And you're going to do it. That's why I said at the beginning, success is a choice, it's a decision. Question is, do you decide? Right? Now, that being said, then comes the next part. So now we have that clarity. Now we have the knowledge that the rich people that they do have their own money, they still don't use it. Then why don't we? So here now I want to talk to you about a couple of practical things that you can do and I have done and a lot of our students have done to be able to make it happen. Because here's the thing, and this might sound very controversial, perhaps, I'm not sure, but another thing that we have been very very, very much conditioned not to do is taking debt, right? Taking debt. People say that's not good. And sometimes people come to us and they say like, oh, I already have 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 15,000, 16,000, 20,000 debt because of study loans or other things. And then I always find that really sweet. But at the same time, I always share with them the same thing, is that, yes, that's cool that you have that debt, or, that's a thing. But it's nothing in comparison to the money that you can make. And why can I say that with so much confidence? Is it because we've had people that are on our programs that in a matter of days, weeks, or months were able to produce hundreds of thousands. So if someone is saying like, I've got 20,000 in debt, then I'm like, hey, that shouldn't stop you from going out there, finding the money, investing in yourself, and then go create more money. Because if you have the mindset like, oh man, I've got that debt, I can't do anything until the debt is gone, then you're never going to get anything. I'm sorry to say it in that way, but it's gonna not allow you to do it efficiently. And never, it may not be the right word. I'm sorry if I said never, but it's not gonna happen in a time scale that you are able to reap the rewards in the most abundant way. So rather than doing that, and this is exactly what I have done, I had my study loan when I started. It took me a long time, a couple of years. I've made millions before I paid it off. Why? Because you don't want to kill your money. If you have a payment plan, you're paying it off step by step, then utilize whatever money you have to go and invest. Build your skill, build your knowledge, create that strong person that no matter what is the situation, that you are able to make it through, no matter what recession, no matter what's going on in the world, that you're able to look after yourself, after your family, and make some other people happy as well, doing a service, doing something for others, making an impact. And that sounds controversial because most people don't think like that. Most people think in the sense like, okay, I will need to pay off my bills or pay the bills obviously, but I need to pay off my loans as soon as possible, and only then I can do things. But the rich people, just think about it. Look at the top companies, billion-dollar companies. What happened last year when the metaverse was announcing all of these things? And you had Twitter, no, not Twitter. You had Amazon, you had Facebook, you had Google, and some other of these big tech companies that went trillions into debt. They took loans of trillions. They are worth a lot of money. They don't use their own money. Went into debt. Why? Because they wanted to prepare for that. And they knew that if I take that as OPM, I'm going to make way more and I'm going to pay back those loans. But I'm going to make so much more money in the end that doesn't matter. I can pay it off, but I can also say, hey, I'm using the money to make more money. And that's why all of these companies are so freaking rich. And I'm not saying that we all should aim to be the next tech company, but what I want to say is that you should aim for living your best life, whatever that is for you. And don't let money stop you from making money. So here's some practical things. So make sure to write them down. You can always assess for yourself which are the things that you can do. But I want to start off with a list. So I go through the list. You can write it down for yourself and see, hey, what of these things perhaps you've never thought about? And you can become resourceful now that you know that list. And probably there's things missing out on the list. So if you can think of more things, comment it below so that anyone else that watches this video can also be benefited from your knowledge. So here we go. Here's the list. The first thing is friends and family. This is definitely something that I resorted to, and so many of our students have too. They wanted to be able to invest. They wanted to be able to learn how to be able to create a freedom lifestyle empire, which is what we teach. And what they did is they went to their family, they went to their parents, to their aunts, to their other people in their family, or they went to friends and say, hey, I want to do something. It's very, very important to me. And I just don't have the finances at the moment. Can I borrow some money? Then I go invest it. Then I go and create the results and I pay you back. Maybe I pay you even more. And they've been able to make it happen. Very, very powerful for me as well. When I wanted to invest in that $7,000 program from Mastery Akashna, I called up my parents and I say, Mom, Dad, this sounds totally ridiculous, but I really want to do this. Can I borrow some money? And I was able to borrow some money. Then the second point, so the first one is friends and family. Second one, go to the bank. I did that too. So I got some money from my parents, and then I called up the bank and said, Bank, I know I have a study loan already. I almost didn't consider the bank because I was like, I already have a loan. They're surely not going to give me another one. But I called them up anyways, because if you don't ask, you don't know, right? If you don't ask, you don't get. So I was calling them up. This is my phone. I was calling them up and I was saying, hey, I know I got a study loan already, but what can we do? And it was at that call that they informed me that I could top up my loan. Might not be the situation for you. Maybe you can find another way. There's business loans, there's personal loans, there's top up options, there's other things that the bank provides. There's so many services. You obviously want to feel what is right for you. But what I did is I topped up my loan. I doubled it. And I was able, therefore, to invest in myself and have some money to get started, because I also moved to the UK for the first time ever to go and take my entrepreneurial career to a whole nother level. Some of you may know that story, some of you don't, but it was quite an interesting story. So I wanted to make sure, okay, I've got the money, let's go, let's move forward and let's go all in. That's also why I say success is a decision, because I went all in is why the results came very, very quick. And for those of you who don't know the story, it was 3 weeks. And then I closed 70,000, which was unbelievable to me. Absolutely unbelievable for someone who made around 2,000 per month. And to see top professors maybe make maximum, after being a professor for 15 years, 8,000 per month and working extremely hard. Let me tell you that. To then see that we made around 100,000 in one weekend, where I closed 70 of that, it was unbelievable. An entire new world went open to me. And this is something that, again, motivates me to share this, because most of us don't hear these stories. Most of us don't see that. I didn't see that until that point. And when I saw it, I was like, man, Once you see it, you cannot unsee it. And then you want to explore, you want to do more, and then you want to help others. So that's what I'm doing right now. So see, what can the bank do for you, right? Third one, external investors. There are so many ways of how you can find investors. You could be people that you know from a lot of different places. You can form business partnerships. You can do crowdfunding. There's angel investors. There's capital, venture capitals. There we go. Venture capitalists. Yeah, that's the word. There's all these options. I don't even know half of them, but there are ways. You can pitch on Shark Tank or whatever, right? Be resourceful. See what you can do. Find someone that you can present an opportunity, because this is important too. Don't just go to someone and say, hey, will you invest in me because it will help me? No, present them an opportunity that there's something in it for them too, that they can see, hey, if I invest in this person, then after some time I get my return. That's the investor mindset. So understand that others may feel that too. Maybe not so much with friends and family, but definitely external investors. So that's the third one. What else can you do? Get yourself a temporary job. Get yourself an extra job if you already have a job. Get yourself extra hours in your job. Whatever you can do, because it's temporary. It doesn't mean that you should work 2 jobs, 3 jobs, extra hours all the time. Or if you have no job right now, if you apply to get a job, let's say at the local coffee store, it doesn't mean that you have to do that forever, but it's a means to an end. If that can make it possible for you to go and get a few extra hundreds or thousands, and you can then invest in yourself to then live the life that you want to live, it's worth it. Sometimes people say a job is bad, or they say it's just over broke. Well, personally, I don't believe in that. A job, I don't think, is the most ideal thing in the world, but it's a means to an end. It allows you to get paid. It allows you to make the money, and money is good because then you can invest and grow it even more. And by the way, if there's anybody watching this who's happy in your job, then do what you want to do. Then have a happy job. But I'm merely referring in my passion to those people that are in a job. They're not feeling nice and they're not feeling happy. And unfortunately, that's 85% of the world. That's a global stat, right? So that's very important. So see, what can you do? Can you work more hours? Work more hours. It's just a couple of weeks, couple of months, boom, make it happen. Allow yourself to put in perhaps a little sacrifice right now, and then make the money and then do what you want to do. If there's a will, there's a way. So you can do it. Next, sell some stuff that you don't use. We've had that before too. It was a client. She's so amazing. She really, really wanted to work in our with us in our program, and she didn't have the funds at that moment. She just been through a couple of difficulties, and what she then did is she opened up her drawer. It's like, hey, I've got all these dresses, all these clothes that I bought that I don't even use. Let me just sell a couple of them. So she put them online, and in one day she sold so much that she could pay for the program. It's crazy. These things can happen. Perhaps you have other things. Sometimes people use their assets, whether that is crypto assets, whether it's other assets that they just go and say, hey, let me just get a portion of that and go invest so I can multiply. That's another thing. It's multiplying your money. You know, there's this sequence of things that people talk about when it comes to money. One is making money. Second is keeping money. Third is multiplying your money. And that's what the rich do. That's what the wealthy people do. So how can you do that also? Next, sell your product, sell your service. Perhaps already right now, you have an idea of something that you want to do. Perhaps you have thoughts about a business already. Maybe you are very good in listening to people, giving people advice. Go out there and sell that. You might not do it perfectly, but just go out there and help a couple of folks and get some money from that. That's a means to an end. And then once you've invested in yourself, you can learn how to do it properly, and then you can do it for more money. But it's a way to get there. And then there are so many more ways of how you can do it. But the moral of the story is that if you really want it, you'll make way. You'll absolutely make way. And I want to finish this life with one quick story. And it was 2018, and we had already created multiple results in our business, made over $1 million and everything like that. And we went to an event, and it was an event by Millionaire Mind Intensive by T. Harv Eker. Really amazing. And on that day, it was a 3-day event. The second day, we had homework, and I had to bring, or everybody had to bring, a 100-pound note. But I never carry cash, so I didn't do the homework, and it was just like, oh, oops, I forgot. And then he said, doesn't matter. Everybody who doesn't have it, stand up. So a couple of us stood up, like hundreds of people in the room. And then there was a couple of like maybe 100 plus people that didn't have the money also. So we stood up and said, okay, we're going to have 5 minutes right now. Go ahead and find the money and begin. And we're just like, Okay. So I stood on a chair. It's like, ladies and gentlemen, can I have some money? And like I basically pitched it. I pitched something that I would do, something that how I would multiply it and how they would make it back with some interest. And I also went to my friends there, the people from my team. I get some money from them. I got some money from the other people. And before I knew it, I think it was 4 minutes, I got myself £100 in my hand after coming into that event room without any money. And that made me think. Because you might not be impressed by this story, only $100, right? What's that do? But what I was impressed with is that I could do it in 4 minutes. And I was like, if I can do that in 4 minutes, what can I do in a day? What can I do in 2 days? What can I do in a week? And it actually motivated us to reintroduce some of those exercises in our events, which is called the investment game. We've done that with people so often throughout the years. And what it basically does is we say, hey, I tell this story. People start to think like, oh, wow, I can do different things. And then we just say, okay, so we got a challenge in 2 days. See how much money you can find. Go find investors. Go find and see what you can do. And the craziest thing is, from all the challenges that we ran and people had to do that in 2 days, the highest amount that people were able to find in 2 days was $56,000. And that blew my mind. And different events, there's different amounts. But when people put their mind to it, they will find it. So the question is, are you willing to make that decision? Because success is a choice. Success is a decision. Are you willing to decide? Are you willing to decide that you deserve it? Are you willing to decide that you can do it too? Are you willing to decide that right now, finally, is the time where you get to do something that you want to do? And do it for the benefit of you, your loved ones, and your community, the people that you want to serve. And if you do, you're going to get there. That's the thing that I 100% believe in, not just because I'm a happy believer, even though I am, but because I see our students crushing it. And I see so many people that have never done business before, never been access or never had access to this type of information. After spending a couple of days, their minds are completely changed. And they take action and they see results. That's why, again, I want to give another shout out to everyone coming to the boot camp, because I can tell you it's going to change your life. You're not going to be the same person after those 5 days. So it's really, really, really quite important to me to share this message so that you too realize that it's just a matter of making a decision. And then once you make the decision, believe in it. Go all in. And this is the final quote that I want to leave you guys with today. And it's a quote by Grant Cardone. And he says, if you commit 100%, results will show up instantly. And if results haven't shown up in your life just yet, it simply means that you haven't committed 100% yet. So the message today is commit 100% because you deserve it. So on that note, I'm going to go. I hope you guys enjoyed this live. I hope it has been beneficial to you. If by any chance you feel like, man, this stuff was amazing, other people that you know might benefit from it, feel very free to share it. Whether you are on LinkedIn, whether you are on Facebook, on Instagram. No, this is not on Instagram. If you are on YouTube, if you are on Twitter X, just share it. Feel free to share it and allow more people to be benefited by this, because these are certain things that we've done that have created millions for us. Our students have created hundreds of thousands to millions or multiple millions for them. And so I know that if you really take this information to heart, it's going to change your life too. You just have to decide. And also, obviously, do let me know in the comments what was your biggest learning, because I always like to see. And if you have any questions, please feel free to drop them in the messages as well, or in the comments as well. And last but not least, make sure to take this information on board and implement it in your life. Because one thing that I can tell you is that when you do it, and Goku says this too, when you do it, you're going to change your life. So on that note, I'm going to go. Have a phenomenal rest of your day, and I see you guys again tomorrow.